I write Disem. I'm from Miami, and I paint everything from street stuff to canvases, portraits, murals, a little bit of everything. My mother and father actually met at an art university, which was owned by my uncle. My mother was a student, and my father was working there at the time. They met at an art school, had me, so I pretty much grew up at an art school. Back in like 94, 95, my parents would leave me with my cousin. He used to write Gare. I was in like 4th grade, and they would leave me like to have him babysit me. He was probably like 16. Obviously, he wanted to go out and do things while he was taking care of his little cousin. So he would take me out with him to paint. So I guess through me being bored at my cousin's walls, and I looked up to him at the time, that's how I got involved, you know, through just looking at my cousin paint and me trying to do what he was doing. Well, I started really young. I started in, like I said, 4th grade. So I started on paper, I think like most people do. But I quickly realized that there had to be a balance between it. So I started writing on walls at first obviously with markers, and little by little I moved up to like spray paint, and little by little just progressed with it, you know, kept on working on it. Through my mother, I think she's one of my biggest influences. She's definitely my biggest influence. So realism has always been something important to me. Like I love abstract work, and especially growing up, now not so much, but growing up I always felt that hyper realism was something that like I wanted to develop. It was like the skill was what I admired. The older I get, the more I realize that like I might have been wrong. Even with my portraits, I'm aware that I could paint a lot more realistic, but there's so many photographers and there's so many skilled people that like what I think translates better is somebody that can make you feel emotions through seeing a painting. So like in my portraits, I put a lot of colors I exaggerate colors, and I exaggerate the lighting in the eyes because I want emotion to translate through paintings more than like how realistic I can get, you know? I think, like I said, a lot of people could do photography and realism, but it doesn't translate so much emotions as just as colors and motions and paintings and that kind of thing. It's really weird because when I paint canvases, it's something very personal. Like I can't have anybody around me. I gotta be on my own. Like I don't want people talking to me. It's a very personal thing. With walls, I prefer the opposite. Like I'd rather be like with friends. I don't mind the interaction. I think that's what makes a wall a wall. A lot of times you're even influenced by your surroundings, you know, certain noises, conversations, those things affect what you're painting. And that's the difference to me. I'm working towards my first solo show. It's about Miami artists. I'm doing a Miami artist series. I'm painting 30 different portraits of all Miami artists that I feel have not only influenced me, but influenced the feel that this city has. So yeah, I'm looking forward towards my first solo show and just working more on the fine art side, as well as being more active with the walls. I think Miami has an extreme amount of talent. Early 90s, it was very like gang related out here. So if you did graffiti, whether you wanted to or not, you kind of were like you were mixed up in a situation where like gangsters were painting, so you had to keep up with it. So it's a tough scene, You definitely, especially when like we started out, you know, you had to hold down your own to kind of like build on it. But luckily it's gotten friendlier, I think. And I don't know if necessarily it's a good thing or a bad thing, because now you got a lot of like dorks doing it, you get me? And it gets a little weird. But as far as talent goes, Miami's amazing. I think we got a lot of talent in the city. That there's something to do every day of the week, it's beautiful. I mean, it's amazing, but it's terrible at the same time, because you could get easily consumed by the city. You know, there's so many things going on that you could go out Monday through Sunday, spend all your money, party all night. So it's awesome, but it's terrible at the same time, because you could get easily consumed by it. Absolutely, I'm extremely inspired by Miami. Anybody that knows me knows that like pink and teal are like my colors. I mean, not my colors, other people use them as well, but I stayed true to that, you know, because every time I paint out of the city, I like to represent Miami. You know, to me, it's all about Miami. I have it tattooed on me. I live this city, breathe this city, love this city. I prefer to paint the street by a lot, but you can't always be on the street. So, you know, I'm just trying to be as productive as I can with my time. So whenever I can't be out painting, I'm painting at a smaller scale. Also with the series that I started, usually with murals, you paint really large. And I think murals are something for the public. It's not really to be appreciated from up close. So with the canvases I've been painting, they're extremely small. So it's something more personal, where the same way that I gotta be like that close to it, to admire it, you gotta get that close. And maybe it goes back to what I was saying about that balance. It's needed. Some things are for the public and some things are more personal, so you gotta have a little bit of both. Like, I'm extremely proud of like the illegal things I've done in the past, you know. I think that says a lot about the balance I was talking about earlier, you know, like you could see my work and it goes from portraits to crazy illegal stuff, you know, and that's not a balance that I feel too many writers have. Absolutely, same passion. And yeah, even, I mean, to do graffiti, there's gotta be a balance between legal and illegal. You know, I don't think you can call yourself a graffiti writer if you've never done any illegal work. There's definitely a balance. If you've never done a decent amount of illegal work, you're not a graffiti writer, you're an artist. But absolutely the same passion, and the more I do it, the more I want to do it, and the bigger I want to do it, and the better I want to do it. Just growth, that's what I'm working towards. Both like work-wise and spiritually. I concentrated for a lot of years, and I believe I didn't want to work for anybody else. So at a younger age, my plan was to be a full-time artist. So I concentrated on working really hard. I opened up businesses so that I could dedicate more time to painting. That way I didn't have to work for anybody else. Unfortunately, that consumed me like by 100%, and I had a couple years where I was not as active as I would have liked to be. I think it'll keep growing. Hopefully we could like stay true to like the essence of our style, our colors, you know. Like, it's funny because I paint in other places, my friends make fun of me because they're like, oh, here you come with your pink and teal Miami shit, you know. We should stay true to that, you know. We're influenced by a lot of outside people, but the culture, I think it's something we gotta stay true to, like our Hispanic roots. There's a lot here, and it's also beautiful because it's not like we're influenced by Colombians or Cubans or anything. It's a mixture of this melting pot we have here, and that's part of like what's beautiful to me about this city. I was out in New York at the beginning of the year, Toronto, Detroit. I went to, I don't know if the politically correct word is orphanage, but we kind of went to this school that takes care of, it's like a boarding school / orphanage in Ecuador. And I was invited by this program called Mindo Futures. And to go out there and see these kids extremely grateful for everything they have and living like, it was just beautiful. To be able to go to that school and paint for those kids with those kids was one of the most humbling, beautiful experiences of my life. That was definitely life-changing. You can check out my website. It's disemart.com, DISEM art.com, and my Instagram, Southside Disem.